Today's special guest has arrived. Are you ready, Glenn?
BBC
Radio 1.
Radio 1.
All right, let's welcome into the studio from the BBC's Dragon's Den, Mr. James Caan.
Good morning.
How are you, James?
I'm extremely well, thank you.
First impression.
Outstandingly well.
Good. Well, first impressions last, and you'll know this being a dragon. You seem very relaxed.
I am actually. I'm pretty chilled this morning. Very
Okay.
chilled.
Is there any particular reason for that you're chilled this morning?
No, I just, got up this morning. I was so excited because I was going to meet you. It just really was the highlight of my day. So I've just cruised in here, very relaxed.
Do you know what? So far, so good. I'm loving the vibe that you bring into the studio. Now, we were talking off air that the new series it's all done. It's in the can. It's ready to go. And you were saying that it always amazes you and it surprises you how many people come with just the most bizarre, insane ideas.
I mean, Clearly, there's a lot of people that, they get up in the morning and they're brushing their teeth and they have that eureka moment where, they're going to invent a bike with a cucumber holder and for some reason they think they're going to be millionaires. But, the British public, everybody deserves that one opportunity. And maybe that cucumber holder on a bicycle is going to revolutionise the world. I don't know, but let's not discourage them.
Let's not discourage them at all. So what do you think? I mean, obviously, Dragon's Den is in its 7th series now. And collectively, you guys must have seen a whole host of different ideas, people's dreams, I suppose. They come to you, they walk up their stairs, they see you guys waiting like a bear trap, really, with bated breath, all looking very nice, and I'm sure you smell nice.
Welcome to the Dragon's Den.
Exactly, to the Dragon's Den. And then one of you guys would say, let's pretend it's Peter Jones. So, what do you bring to the den? And then they start talking. At what moment during their spiel, be it 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 5 minutes into their spiel, do you realise this is an absolute stinker or this could make us a lot of money?
I think I remember the guy that came in, and generally I don't really say a lot. I tend to sit back and listen and watch first. But there was a guy who came in who invented a cushion. Maybe he didn't invent the cushion. Maybe the cushion was already invented, but his concept was that when you're sitting on the bus and you're leaning against the window, you need a cushion to do that. So I said, have you actually sold any? No. Okay. And what do you value the business? £4.7 million. So maybe that was the moment I thought, nah.
And a pillow specially designed to prop you up on a bus.
Yes.
Right, yeah, I know where he's coming from. It's got to be dribble proof for starters. I've fallen asleep on many a bus. Maybe with a little trough where the dribble ends up. You know what I mean?
But the question was, how do you get a valuation of 4.7 million? And have you sold any? No.
Oh, that's embarrassing, though. Do you know, I wish you could just take them to one side and say, listen, pal, all right, we've just wasted a lot of film recording that. Do you want to come back and start again?
No, so that's normally, I suppose, when somebody gives you a valuation that is just so ridiculous, you kind of sit there and think, do I really want to work with this guy? I can imagine him calling me up and say, James, can I have 17 grand pocket money this week? Have you sold anything? No.
It's unbelievable. Let's talk about yourself. How did you become so successful? What's your background in? How did you become a Dragon's Den? A dragon in the den?
That's right. I essentially have been building businesses for the last 20 years. So, nearly 20 years ago, I essentially became a venture capitalist where, somebody would approach me with a good idea. And essentially, I'm not bright enough to work out whether the idea is good enough, but I'm quite good at backing people. So I essentially find people who are really passionate about an idea, who I think are practical, commercial, realistic, and people that you look at and you think, I could work with this person, I can trust this individual. They genuinely have something that they believe in. So essentially I put up the money, I give them the equity, and I help them create and build a business. And back in 1992, I backed an individual who had a fantastic idea, and I put up about, it was a lot actually in those days, about £50,000, and we grew a business that we grew to 147 offices in 30 countries around the world. huge business, and then we sold it to a New York listed company. And there was another business that a young lady, an Irish lady who used to run a nanny agency, she approached me to build an outsourcing business, which at the time I didn't quite understand what that meant, but she seemed pretty good and knew what she was talking about, and I was really taken in by her passion. And she built a business that we started in 95 and we sold last year, and that was turning over just under £400 million a year. It's the largest outsourcing business in the United Kingdom, which we sold for just under 100 million. Okay, Vernon, shall we move on?
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Well done you, and well done her.
No, in fact, she made Businesswoman of the Year last year. So, so I've been very fortunate that I've managed to find some incredibly talented people, and together we've made beautiful music.
Well,
that jingles.
Well, let's tie this in with people are receiving their exam results at the moment. So I would imagine, let's say the people who've got their A-levels and they didn't quite get the grades that they needed, so they're going to go to various universities, various colleges and do interviews. Now, it seems that you're a great people person. You can probably assess someone within 5 minutes and you've got them down. Are they driven? Have they got the motivation? Have they got the personal skills to succeed in whatever they want to do? What do you think is the key for those people who are going to an interview or some kind of an application for a place at university? What do they have to get over in an interview to prove their worth, so to speak, in that brief period of time that they're in an interview?
I think normally when people come to me and they're pitching the idea, that they generally think that I'm the interviewer. So they've got to sit there kind of meek and mild and I'm going to ask all the questions. The problem is, if I'm doing all the talking, how do I know who you are and what you're offering? So I think the first thing to overcome is that nerves and that confidence. So if you research the person that you're going to meet, research the company, and rather than sitting there sort of, being quite nervous, but actually be a bit more proactive and say, a bit like yourself. So, James, tell me, how did you get where you are? Put the shoe on the other foot, make me do the talking, show who you are, show your confidence. And I think, to be honest, nowadays it's quite easy because you go on the web and you've got all the information. You've probably got my bio. You can find out the person who's interviewing you or a bit about the organisation. And I'll give an example. Somebody came to see me recently and I was interviewing them about a particular opportunity. And I gave them a bit of a hard time on a particular point. And she said, well, with all due respect, James, when you set up Benji's, you lost £2.7 million. So how good are you? And I looked at her and I thought, okay. So, and, clearly it was on my website and it says, some of the businesses that I'd lost money on. But the fact that she'd taken the time, and of course we all of a sudden engaged in the conversation because naturally I'm now a bit defensive because she's had a pop.
You kind of feel that you've got to defend yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I thought, and I actually said to her, I said, my respect for you has changed. I said, because just the fact that you took the trouble to understand who you're coming to see and the fact that you knew that very specific point, I thought was actually very good. So I think in an interview situation, you've got to remember, you are there to sell yourself. You can't sell yourself if you say nothing.
Yeah.
And if you don't ask any questions, because so many times in interviews people say, do you have any questions? And they say, no.
I think we were told at school to have 2 questions ready, at least 2. And I've been doing interviews like this for, I think it's just over 10 years now. And I always say an interview to me is a conversation. Like, obviously I know Dragon's Den. I've never met you before. Got a couple of notes in front of me. But it's a conversation. I watch Dragon's Den, I think, what do I want to know about James Caan? Do you know what I mean? And I always start an interview or some kind of chat with 3 questions that'll get me somewhere. Do you know what I mean? And I would imagine an interview is very similar to that.
Sure. But I suppose that the student who's just got their qualifications, they need to recognise that, you get one chance to make a first impression. The person who's interviewing, you're not the only person they're going to meet. They've probably got 20 people in that day. And always remember that you've got to leave them with something that means that you will stand out in the mind of that person. I'll get another silly one. Somebody came in recently to see me and she took out her CV and from her handbag, she took out this brownie and she put it on my desk. So I looked at it and I said, are you hungry? She said, that's for you. So I thought, Actually, you know what? Very clever. Because it's exactly what you said. It was a conversational point.
Yeah.
So we took 2 minutes. And at the end of the day, do you think the brownie stayed in my head? Yes.
Yeah.
You know, so I just think outside the box. Do something that's different, that makes you stand out, or show initiative and confidence that I won't forget.
And you know what else? My mum always drilled this into me. First impressions last, and they do. Always polish your shoes. It winds me up when you see someone who's not got polished shoes on. Because if they can't look after themselves, how can you hand over a business and be guaranteed that they're going to look after that?
Vernon, I think you've read my book, haven't you?
I haven't. No, I
That
haven't.
actually, believe it or not, is in my book, because people, when I wrote the book, somebody told me 20 years ago that when you're interviewing somebody, always look at their shoes. And I thought, what a stupid comment. What on God's name, what difference does shoes make? Anyway, he sat me down, I was quite young at the time, and explained to me that, you know, if you take the trouble to clean your shoes, it says something about you, your attention to detail, your consciousness of presentation. And anyway, he went through the whole detail with me, and it stuck in my head. And two things happened. One, before I ever leave the house, the first thing I do is I check my shoes. I will not leave the house with scuffed shoes. And whenever I'm interviewing somebody, I can't help it. It's become so subconscious that I have to see the shoes.
Yeah.
And if the shoes are dirty, they're scuffed, they're not very good, I look at that individual and think, you know, what does it say about you? This is an important meeting. Could be an event that could have changed your life. The fact you just couldn't be bothered, I don't know, there's a message in there somewhere.
Definitely. I totally agree with you. And I've stood by that for the whole of my life. You've got to have either decent shoes or at least clean shoes.
Vernon, you and I
shoes.
take a stake in Kiwi Polish, because I think we have just boosted sales.
We'll be back with James Caan. More from James Caan after this from Biffy Clyro. Get your questions in. Come on. He's here. We can use him. We can get as much information from him as possible within the next 10, 15 minutes. 81199. Biffy Clyro on Radio 1. Goes on a little bit at the end, that tune, if you don't know it.
BBC
Radio 1.
Radio 1.
So we're here with James Caan from Dragon's Den. We used to be neighbours, James.
Absolutely. In fact, I didn't know you were so wealthy.
Well, that's why we got moved. Yes, very nice. Beautiful place, beautiful part of London that you live.
Yes.
Very nice indeed. All right.
Now I know why that cheap car at the corner was always there, actually. It was the wonder. Surely nobody living in the street
It
will
wasn't
drive
cheap.
one of
That
those.
was my pride and joy, James.
Oh, okay,
I will
sorry.
explain after the news to everyone. James is my favourite dragon, telling me he's a legend. That's from Laura in Farnborough, getting ready to go to work. Now, here's one from Andrew Parker in Llandudno. Hi, Vernon. I had a light bulb moment the other day while sitting on a very special seat in the house.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Small room.
I was thinking how much toothpaste comes out of a toothpaste tube at once. Some would say it's too much, so therefore I would invent a toothpaste cartridge that screws onto the bottom of the toothpaste, therefore enabling you to put the right amount of toothpaste on your brush.
I think he's spending too much time in that room, Vernon.
Too much time on his special seat, definitely. So if people have got inspiring business ideas, where do they need to, what avenues do they need to start thinking and going down to kind of understand whether it's a good or a bad idea?
I think the first piece of advice I would offer is to understand that commercial success does not begin just with the idea. A lot of people out there think because they've had an idea that's quite incredible, that commercially they'll make a lot of money. What most people need to understand is, even if you take that example of the chap with the toothpaste, just assuming that idea was the most incredible idea in the world, it doesn't mean he's going to make money. Because to take an idea, to now go to a manufacturing plant that makes toothpaste, that works out how will you do it, what will it cost, what are the logistics, do you have to change the machinery, you know, what's the margin, what's the cost, who's going to buy it, will the supermarkets want to pay money to ensure that people use less toothpaste? I mean, you know, so what I'm saying is, in all these issues, what I find that people have to come up with an idea and work out the journey between the idea and business success. Because I would say 95% of fantastic ideas cannot be commercially implemented. And I suppose my experience or success, or why I'm, you know, moderately successful, is that I spend more time working out doesn't matter how great the idea is, but will it ever work commercially?
You see, I've got an idea, and if anyone knows Mr. Green, Philip Green, I've got an idea that's going to revolutionise the way that men buy suits.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me, Vernon.
No, I'm not going to tell you on air. Not that daft.
Vernon, I've come here loaded. I brought the cash with me. Glenn said to me, he's got an idea. Bring your cash.
I'm not going to say it
because
on
this
air.
is going to revolutionise the fashion industry.
It's going to revolutionise the way men purchase buying a suit. Now, if you go to a gentleman's shop, a high street store, and you want a suit, there are only a certain amount of styles and a certain amount of sizes that a man can try on.
Clearly.
Right? Now, how many good friends have you got, James?
Good friends.
Good friends.
Dozen.
All right, you've got a dozen good friends. I bet every single one of them has got a different body shape.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
No
where
question.
my idea lies, Glenn. This time next year.
But they don't all have six-packs, Vernon.
No, it's not about that. Exactly.
There you go.
That's exactly it, James.
See, I knew I was on the right
That's exactly
track.
it. It's not about the six-pack. It's not about looking physically fit and healthy.
But like yourself,
It's
yeah.
about having a suit that fits. And you'll know there's nothing worse, in my eyes, than seeing a guy whose shoulder pads on his jacket are round by his elbows.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
embarrassing. It really is.
I mean, should we go 50-50, Vernon, on this?
We can go 50-50, definitely. If you want, you know. It's a good idea, James. I'm telling you. I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
Right, we're gonna have one more tune, but James, thank you very much. We've got to kick on now. But thank you very much for coming in and having a chat.
Absolute
really enjoyed
pleasure,
it.
Vernon.
The text messages have gone absolutely mental. You know what? Are you busy over the next few weeks? Because we should get James in again. Being that, you know, when people go back to college and university, we should have more time to chat about stuff.
You got yourself a date, Vernon.
It's a deal, James. So big thanks to James for coming in for a chat. This is the Prodigy tape to the hospital. We'll have this, then we'll have the news, then we'll have the footy, and we'll have David Garrido with the cricket. Keep it here, BBC Radio 1.